At least two oil companies, Caltex and BP, informed their leasehold proprietors that price assistance to continue the war would be withdrawn from today. This will mean a return to a price of 51.9 cents a litre, as it was about 10 days ago. Today, the Service Station Association again called on the government to fix the price of petrol. The association has complained for years that oil companies charge different wholesale prices to different station proprietors. 46.55 cents a litre is the correct wholesale price for leaseholders. But freehold proprietors can bargain at will, and they do. There are even allegations that some petrol is being brought across state borders, avoiding some taxation. Service station operators say they're tired of being blamed by motorists for price fluctuations. They say oil companies deliberately create price wars to clear surplus stocks. When the price rises again, motorists accuse the retailers of ripping them off. Surpluses are created because refineries must produce at a steady rate, and stocks build up at a terminal when high prices lead to buyer reluctance. Indications are that reluctance will return with the discount signs to disappear, for now at least.
For many years, the ISC was regarded as a dust bowl, but thankfully those days are gone, and today it looked magnificent, with the rain just putting the shine on things. The field too has been moved closer to the stand, giving the dearer seats the best view. That's life. As for the lighting, it's supplied by mobile lighting and consists of 132 lights, each putting out 1.5 million candle power on 5 banks positioned from cherry pickers. It cost $20,000 for the night, which compares favourably indeed with the cost of fixing permanent lighting for the use of 3 or 4 times a year. Crews will position the lights, powered by 3 massive but silent generators tonight, when the system is given a test run. This little lady was not that impressed though, so let's hope at the end of proceedings the New South Wales League still don't think that Newcastle is a country outpost.
It was a first chance for the 7 women to view the home, which will benefit from their fundraising efforts. All money raised by the women will go directly to Baruna, which provides low-cost, safe holidays for children and adults who suffer from crippling disabilities. For their families, it provides a break away from the pressures of caring year-round for a crippled child. According to the Mrs New South Wales coordinator Colleen Aldridge, approximately 7 out of 10 marriages break up under the strain of caring for a crippled child. More immediately for the home, however, is the need to reverse a financial loss experienced last year. John Thurlow, administrator of the home, believes the Mrs New South Wales Awards will help them to achieve this goal and more.
I believe we have 6 or 7 participants in the awards, and the monies that they raise, of course, will go to this specific holiday establishment. And number 2, I guess, is there'll be more people know about us with having supported the 7 participants in the quest.
Following the tour of the home, the women attended a fashion parade fundraiser at the Madison Motor Inn. It was a chance for the ladies to get together to launch their fundraising campaign, share ideas and wish each other success. One local entrant, Susan Mingay, explained why she became involved with the Mrs New South Wales Awards.
I am very lucky. I have 5 healthy children, and there are other people that aren't quite so lucky. So I thought, well, I could give up some of my time to raise some money for them.
What do you hope to achieve out of the quest?
Traditionally, a smaller number of nurses graduate mid-year than in December. Last night at the Christchurch Cathedral in Newcastle, a total of 36 nurses graduated from a variety of basic and post-basic courses at the Royal Newcastle Hospital. The bulk of those graduating, 21 new nursing sisters, were presented with certificates by the principal of the Director of Nursing at the Royal, Margaret Marks. They had completed 3 years training. As well, 8 nursing sisters graduated from the intensive care course and 7 from the renal and transplantation courses. The graduates were made up of 6 men and 30 women. For the first time at a graduation ceremony, choral items were presented by the Newcastle Tudor Singers, who interestingly were conducted by a specialist doctor at the hospital, Keith Murray Allen. Meantime, at the Hamilton Tech, more than 120 students received awards or certificates at the first annual presentation and open night. The presentation was split between the old building in Hunter Street and the new complex in Parry Street. The student who collected most honours was Cathy Crocker. She received 2 state awards in hairdressing. The Joy Cosmetics Award for the highest pass overall in stages 1 and 2, and the Clairol Award for the highest pass in hair colouring 1 and 2. Students in more than a dozen courses, from fashion to food, to adult literacy and fashion design received awards.
The exercise involved a simulated sulfuric acid spill. The acid was in a number of drums being illegally carried by a truck which had crashed on a side road on the shores of Lake Macquarie. The alarm was raised by a crew from the Swansea Coast Guard at anchor on the lake near the accident scene. Police were first on the scene after 2 passers-by pulled the driver from the truck. The driver had suffered acid burns and was overcome by toxic fumes. The 2 bystanders were also overcome by fumes and were treated by ambulance officers before being taken to hospital. Bushfire units arrived and extinguished a fire which had broken out in bush near the crash scene. Firemen then donned protective chemical suits and breathing apparatus and began cooling off the area. Mock sulfuric acid was then diluted with water and firemen began mopping up. The exercise was organised in conjunction with the Regional Rescue Coordination Committee and also involved the State Emergency Service and other volunteer rescue organisations. Organisers say the exercise will help improve coordination and communication between services in real-life joint rescue operations. Information from today's exercise will be taken back and assessed at a debriefing and will be used to fine-tune any further combined rescue efforts in the future.
The City of Newcastle Bill includes a number of changes to the 49-year-old Greater Newcastle Act. It says there'll be 12 aldermen instead of 21 on the new council. The ward system is to be replaced by a citywide franchise, and there'll be a new system of filling extraordinary vacancies when aldermen resign. They will now be replaced by the next highest vote winner on the party ballot. But while the changes to the Act are going through Parliament without a hitch, the restructuring of the Newcastle City administration is not going so smoothly. Staff became incensed after the Administrator Cole Saunders sent out a memo threatening disciplinary action unless staff complied with the changes. The staff retaliated with this letter. The letter from the Branch Secretary of the Municipal Employees Union, Paul Mazzato, expresses the members' displeasure. Addressed to the Administrator, it says, "You have only managed to incite members by your totally incorrect presumption that they may not wish to improve the Council's efficiency." The MEU also claims that the members haven't been consulted on the restructuring. And Mr Mazzato continues, saying, "I must request that you display at least a minimal degree of basic common sense industrial relations. The simple remedy is easily summed up in one word: dialogue." The letter requests that the Administrator answers these comments as soon as possible.
The private naturalisation ceremony took place in the offices of the Department of Immigration and Ethnic Affairs. Some of the usual requirements were waived in Ricky's case because of his marriage to his Australian wife.
Ricky, congratulations.
Thank you.
You're an Australian.
Ricky says becoming an Australian citizen will now mean he can concentrate fully on his basketball.
I think I'll play much better now, knowing that I don't have to sit down anymore and wait for, someone to say, okay, you can play now. I can go out and practice hard knowing that, I can get going.
The Bureau says in the 12 months to March 31 last year, the value of agricultural production was almost $237 million. In 1983-84, Hunter Valley farmers produced just on $247 million in agricultural goods. Ivan Skanes from the Hunter Valley Research Foundation says the decrease can be attributed to downturns in both the wine and wheat growing industries.
The major sectors of the agricultural economy that have experienced decreases are wheat, the production of wheat for grain, and the production of grapes for wine. And those two sectors have basically decreased because of falls in tonnages produced. So it's a matter of a decline in output.
The survey also shows meat poultry production as the major contributor to the agricultural economy of the Hunter, with a total value of more than $60 million, or nearly 26% of total production. Beef cattle production represents another substantial portion of the agricultural economy, contributing $55 million. The survey also shows both the beef and meat poultry industries undergoing a steady expansion. Another major contributor, dairy farming, accounts for 21% of the region's rural economy. Ivan Skanes says although the figures cover the full range of the Hunter's rural industries, they do not give a comprehensive view of how the man on the land is faring.
These figures basically represent total value of production, and they don't take into account, for example, costs of production or size of farm debt. They're only an indicator basically of total sales from the farm. So no, from these figures we can't really get an idea of the current economic position of farms in the Hunter.
The figures also show a continuing downturn in the number of farmers staying on the land.
Well, in comparing 1983-84 with 1984-1985, there was a decrease of around about 3% in the number of agricultural establishments in the Hunter. And the current number is around about 3,700, 3,800.
With the National Farm Census currently underway, the Hunter Valley Research Foundation has urged farmers to complete the forms so accurate and up-to-date information on rural Australia can be compiled.
Assist the
Mr.
DMR
Bowman said he would no longer tolerate attempts by the coordinator, Mr. Ross, to promote, directly or indirectly, the silly idea of a picket line at Swansea Channel. Mr. Bowman said Mr. Ross had given the impression that the Forum would support a picket line, preventing a start on construction of the duplicate bridge. The issue of a duplicate bridge, high-level, low-level, tunnel or otherwise, has continued for some time. However, several months ago, the Forum called for an inquiry to be undertaken into all the options available. At that meeting, Mr. Bowman said he could support the idea of an inquiry undertaken privately by the Forum and would be happy to attend. This, he said, was a compromise gesture, in no way implied, as Mr. Ross suggested, a change of heart. Mr. Bowman said there was absolutely no chance of the government or the Department of Main Roads undertaking that inquiry. An inquiry which he says at this stage would only serve to show how foolish and ill-informed members of the Forum have been. Mr. Ross, though, doesn't agree. He says a government inquiry is essential to show what options are available and the cost and feasibility of those options.
while we may have some profile in the community, I do think that a properly constituted inquiry that would be independent of one view or another view would be the ideal thing, and that means really some form of government inquiry or some form of independent inquiry that could be credible, and any decisions taken from that be carried through into government policy.
But it's been several months since the forum called for an inquiry. Why hasn't anything been done up till now?
Well, we have done quite a bit about it. I think we had some influence, for example, with the Newcastle Trades Hall Council in terms of, because they are also calling for an inquiry. There's a number of other organisations who took a very firm particular view of a particular option for the bridge, like some people who are pushing simply for a high-level bridge, and they've now said that, well, they think that perhaps an inquiry should be held because there are these other options.
No, it's not The Dog Next Door, but Pat the Puppy, starring in his first major role in Puppy Love. Presented by the Hunter Valley Theatre Company, the play will be performed this week for young audiences at the Civic Playhouse. It's a different approach to children's theatre, but actor and writer of Puppy Love Bruce Keller says there's something for everyone to learn through Pat the Pup's experiences.
For me, the joy of the piece is that anyone can play. We involve the adults as well. We get them to join in the games if they want to. There's no forced audience participation. It's good to watch, but if you want to join in as well, there's something for all the family. And the big reward is the sight and sound of a room full of adults and kids playing and laughing together.
The young audience is encouraged to join in the puppy pranks, a concept which has been developed from the basics.
As an actor, what preparation goes into the role of a dog?
We went and we looked at kennels and pounds and animal hospitals and watched dogs, took them for walks, and then we started a series of exercises in the rehearsal space to get me fit enough to bound around on all fours for a long time.
You've already toured extensively with the play. Has it been a dog's life?
Find the world of it. They all say that. I love it. It's great. It's got a long way to go too. We're going to go further in Australia this year, and there's already talk of going next year and the year after, maybe other places in Australia, return seasons, and hopefully overseas too.
The briefing was organised by the Department of Defence through the Newcastle Submarine Project and Support Group and New South Wales Submarine Task Force. Representatives of more than 50 businesses in the Hunter, Central Coast and Taree regions attended. All the companies involved would tender for part of the multi-billion-dollar contract if it came to Newcastle. Cole Spitskowski from the Submarine Support Group and the Hunter Development Board says the briefings will also be held in all capital cities.
The Swedish firm and the German firm are progressively providing data to the Navy. They've just gone through a baseline design review in Canberra. They don't really put in their final proposal until November of this year, and we understand that Navy is then to present its recommendations to the government in January, and that the government will make a decision and an announcement in the middle of '87.
One of the major factors involved with the contract coming here is the question of industrial relations. That was discussed at today's meeting of the Newcastle Businessmen's Club. Leading the discussion was Production Supervisor with the State Dockyard, Ken Chapman, and Lionel Crossley, Senior Vice President of the Dockyard's Works Committee. Ken Chapman says industrial harmony at the dockyard has been vastly improved by the use of special task forces involving management and the workforce.
Well, it's a new concept. And we are achieving something at the dockyard. You know, our productivity is up. Our worker union relationship is very much improved. We're producing items to schedule. It's going very well.
Meantime, Lionel Crossley says as far as the workforce is concerned, any criticism of the dockyard's productivity is unjustified.
I don't believe we can sit back and than say that that it's all tied up, that the submarine project would automatically come to Newcastle. We would like to think so. But the arguments they put about from none of those other areas, a lot of times I feel are unjust.
The 3 council-run parks are Halifax at Nelson Bay, the Alex McDonald Park at Shoal Bay and Baruna at Fingal Bay, which accommodate some of the council's most vocal critics. Park users have 4 major grievances. They say the council should set an annual rate for permanent site users, that power rates are excessive and should be included in a flat fee, that a visiting charge of $1 for adults and 50 cents for children is an embarrassment and should be abolished, and that the council should provide insurance cover for tenants carrying out maintenance work around their vans. Following a meeting with Port Stephens Shire Council last week, 2 of these problems have been resolved. However, the association says the question of high fees remains a major stumbling block. But according to Deputy Shire Clerk Ray Meredith, the council feels it's in the right.
The council's caravan parks are primarily holiday and tourist parks. They are meant to provide the maximum possible financial returns to the ratepayers.
So you're trying to make the biggest profit possible?
Well, yes. We're trying to make the maximum possible financial returns to the ratepayers and at the same time provide a facility for the patrons of the park that they may enjoy.
What would you suggest then to people who don't like the rates that you're charging?
If they feel that we're not able to provide the service or the prices that they would like to enjoy, I feel they should look at other parks.
A report, however, looking into ways of reducing fees during the months of June and July is expected to be tabled at a council meeting tonight. The council says the timing of its release is coincidental and that it's not in response to the association's demands.
Happy?
When Qantas Flight 4 from Honolulu touched down, it carried 2 very special passengers. Ensconced in custom-made travelling crates, they had flight attendants pandering to their every whim. The precious cargo, a male and female giraffe. At only 6 months, they stand about 2.5 metres high, and in 1 month would have been too tall to travel by plane. The giraffes were sent from Honolulu Zoo at Waikiki to Sydney for quarantine at Taronga Park. They will then travel to their new home at Dubbo Zoo. According to a Qantas spokesman, the giraffes proved to be the most docile of passengers. They hated the movie, but loved the in-flight food. At Newcastle today, another pair of exotic animals created as big as stir. Meet Cesar and Stripes, 2 tigons or ligers, the offspring of a Bengal tiger father, Zarek, and an African lioness mother, Ogli, both star performers at Ashton's Circus. The 2 cubs at only 16 weeks may seem more manageable than their parents, but a wily native cat should never be underestimated. And if at first you don't succeed, you can sort of pan off me to the tiger, Steve, the way I'm saying it. This is Helen Hughes reporting. They're big.